You know what? Let's just talk about these. So, every time you beat the game, every time you start the game, you can choose to lose your starting relic for one of the boss relics. So, let's start with this. So, let's just first look at what boss relics do. So, every boss, the vast majority of boss relics say gain an energy, gain a penalty. Some of these can be devastating at the early game. Busted Crown will just ruin your deck. And since you don't have a deck, it basically says your deck is done. Your deck's not done when you first beat the game. It just began. Coffee Dripper means you don't have a way to heal if you're not an Ironclad, and you actually just lost your blood. So, yeah, you're not healing. Cursed Key means you're just getting curses in your deck all left and right because you need those chests. You need to open those chests. Philosopher's Stone is fine. Pandora's Box really makes an interesting run. Snake Eye is great because you can now build around Snake Eye. Sozu's a little weird because now you can't get potions, but you are stronger, so it's probably okay. Tiny House. We'll get into Tiny House in a bit. Velvet Choker, you can play around. Like, a lot of these, you can play around. Fusion Hammer, it's a little weird because you have to pick up weak cards knowing you can't upgrade them. But basically, as you can see, it's kind of risky. Some are really good. Hovering Kite just says, hey, you go discard synergy, you get energy. You don't go discard synergy, alright, that's fine. Inserter, hey, you might not start with a lightning orb, but you get one later. Fusion, Nuclear Battery, trading Cracked Core for Nuclear Battery is just a beautiful lead. It's, hey, instead of starting with a lightning, you start with Plasma. Which is better between the two? Almost always Plasma. So let's actually go through the 4 common relics and are they good or not. So Ironclad. And the Amateur, at the end of combat, heals 6 HP. This is a really good relic. Especially with the Ironclad, because now they can have cards that lose you life. So, for example, if you lose... How do I even go through this? Give me a sec. So, the way you'd get through this... Basically, so if... Let's see, how many fights are you going to do? So the entire game is 50 fights. There's, let's say there's 15 floors. I think it was 15. I think it's 15 per act. Something around there. Let's see, 45, 46, 47. Let's see. Yeah, it's about 15 floors. Let's say 8 or 9 of them are combats. That means this is healing you 54 health or so. That's half your entire health total every act. And that is the tankiest character. So, yeah. This one's impactful. In fact, it's so impactful that its upgraded version is just 2 of them. And Black Blood, the only reason you don't pick Black Blood is because you have an energy card, and Ironclad is so... That's the other thing. Ironclad values the 4th energy so much compared to the other classes. They have so many cards that cost 2. Being able to play 2 of them in a turn is huge. So, it is, boss and starting relics are a lot stronger with the Ironclad. If its starting relic wasn't so good, the fact that you could get more energy off of these other things would just push you to switch out your relic every time. But I usually don't even switch with the Ironclad, because if I'm in a bad situation, the healing, I basically have to get 3 elites in a row or something like that for me to switch with the Ironclad to take the chance. So then Reign of Snake. So, at the start of each combat, draw 2 additional cards. Oh, by the way, we can actually do some comparisons. At the end of combat, heal 6. At the start of combat, heal 2. So, the Ironclad's relic is 3 times a common relic. The Silence relic is precisely a common relic. Now, you might think with that, okay, so the Silence is really bad. You want to shuffle it through. You want to get a new one. And while the new ones are good, I will not deny that gain a new relic for the Silent is good. The Silent starts with a bigger deck, and this is actually an extremely good relic. Don't be deceived by the fact that it's common. Basically, all these relics that at the start of each combat do an effect are really good because the first turn is the most dangerous turn. So, gaining 10 block, because... Okay, so let's first describe why the first turn is sometimes the most dangerous turn. It's because you have seen 5 cards in your entire deck, and you have not seen any others, you have not played any powers, you have not set up, you have done nothing. You have just entered the fight, and some enemies will just immediately start smacking you. In fact, some of the later enemies, make sure to wait till turn 2 to give you a chance to cooperate. Note that's even the final boss gives you a turn to set up, because it's going to kick your rear if you don't get that turn. So having a first turn that's just very strong is very powerful. The best way to get a first turn that's very strong is to draw the right cards. This is perhaps the most powerful common relic. Perhaps. I will state perhaps. Data Disk is really strong. Early Omamori can really change your strategies around in really cool ways. Like, Bronze Scales could actually allow you to beat the heart in some ways because of that 15 attack. Just deal additional 45 damage. 48 damage per 2 turns up to the heart. Plus, like, everything it does against other fights. Like, I'm not saying... Like, a lot of these common relics are really good. Just, Reign of Snake is equal to a common relic, but is perhaps the best common relic. Its upgrade, actually, it's weird. So at the start of your turn, you draw 1 additional card. Notice you got 1 less card on that very important turn. Now for the rest of it, you get more cards, but you don't have the energy to play them. You didn't get an energy relic. And if you're a deck that really wants the card draw, you have ways in Silent to get the card draw. Once you're set up, card drawing is not the issue. It's getting enough block, it's getting enough poison, it's things of that nature. Card draw is not the issue with Silent, as it progresses at the very least. So, I actually never take Reign. I don't think I've ever taken Reign of the Serpent. I do not believe I've ever taken. Well, I had to take it once to get this shown, but like not since I started Ascension 20. It's just. It's not that it's a bad relic. It's that it's a boss relic. If this was just added on top of Reign of the Snake, I'd be all for it. But you have to understand that Reign of the Snake is huge. It's huge. I wouldn't know how to do this. Like, maybe until you shuffle your deck, you draw 2 additional cards each turn. Something so that you go through the deck once, and then once you're done going through the deck, you have to go through it. This disables. I know. And that would be insane. That would probably be insane. That would probably be more insane. Maybe just draw 2 cards, gain 2 energy, so that first turn you also have 5 energy and you just wreck things. Which is, yeah, fun fact, Lantern is also a really strong boss start common relic. Yeah. So, Reign of the Snake. That being said, Reign of the Snake is compared to a common relic, so you can find other solutions for that. If you're not worried about the first turn, you can build around not having a good first turn. You can find ways to mitigate that. You can find common relics, you can buy stuff from shops. You can mitigate that error, and you can... Silent doesn't use the 4th energy as well as Ironclad, but like Pandora's Box is huge, Astrolabe is huge. Like, Hovering Kite is one of the great relics. Yet notice Runic Cube deals with the Ironclad's issue of not drawing cards, and the Hovering Kite takes an edge on the issue that Silent draws so many cards. Also Wristblade. Wristblade... So it's... This actually needs to deal more damage. I think it just needs to say, attacks that cost 0 deal double damage. I think that's how Wristblade gets played. I think that's how Wristblade gets played. Anyways, so then next came the Defect. And Defect is the one I'm most willing to switch out to a boss relic. So, you start with 1 Lightning. I will not deny, Lightning in the early game is good. Note how I said that. By Act 2, this is a sucky relic. In Act 1, this is great. In Act 1, making sure you have at least 1 orb channeled is great. But then, like, I think there's one specific relic that makes it so you start with a channeled Dark Orb, right here. Symbiotic Virus, you get that, and you now wish you didn't have Cracked Core. You actively wish you did not have Cracked Core. Because that's the first thing you want, Overload. Win some fights when you draw on turn 3. When you draw Dual Cast on turn 3. Like, this is the weakest starter relic. So if there's ever one that I want to go for a boss relic, it does make me weaker in Act 1. But like Inserter, and Inserter is weird because if you get Inserter, you now suddenly have to lean heavily on channeling orbs when you just lost one orb that you channeled. It works amazingly with Snake Eye because there's like Meteor Strikes. There's a bunch of cards that cost... There's like a lot of the rares. Suddenly you could take them knowing you're going to get enough energy for them. They work well with more energy. And so the Defect is probably the most apt to trade out your Starring Relic for a boss relic. Finally, we have Watcher. So your Starring Relic is a boss relic. So a Miracle is just a 0-mana card that gives you 1 energy and exhaust. It's like the Lantern, except instead of doing it turn 1, you do it whatever turn you want. And I just said the Lantern is like Bag of Preparation and Lantern are 2 of the strongest common relics. Like they're stronger than most uncommon relics. So it's just kind of trading an energy of your decision for an energy every turn, but with a drawback. Violet Lotus is just, if you have a stance shifting deck, it's going to allow you to have free energy, because in the proper stance shifting deck, you might exit Calm 2 or 3 times in a single turn. So that just gave you 3 energy, because it's not whenever you exit Calm for the first time each turn, it's additional energy every time you exit Calm. So this is an insane special relic. The Holy Water is just 3 lanterns. Actually, this is an example of why I think Reign of the Serpent should be. It's 2 cards and 2 energy on the first turn. This is 3 energy on the first turn if you want it, more if you need it. Holy Water is not bad. Holy Water is not a bad option, especially if you can't deal with the penalties of like the Cursed Key or the Busted Crown. So, yeah. Pure Water is one that... The thing is, you're trading a boss relic for another boss relic. Like, legitimately, the issue here is you might as well just do something that increases your max HP plus 7. Or enemies have 1 less health, so you grab it in the late. So, with that, I'll just use this last few times to do a quick reviews of what I think of each boss relic, especially when you get them on turn 1. So, I'm going to note for boss relics, not just turn 1, but when you get them out of the chest, because you can choose between 3. So, the theme that I always like to look at with boss relics, I like to look at 3 themes. Power, strategy, and feel. Power is obviously, are they strong enough to be a boss relic? Yes, no, we'll get into it. Generally, if you're getting a boss relic and it's not strong, you're in trouble. Second, is the strategy. Just how does it change? How can you strategize with it? With Coffee Dripper, you now have to strategize that your campsites are now you now have enough space to smith whenever you want, but you now can't heal. You have to adapt to the strategy. Busted Crown, you're basically done with your deck. Your strategy is done. If you get Mark of Pain, you need an evolve. You need some way to deal with status effects in your deck. And with Feel, it's just, does it feel powerful? Obviously, the 4 energy effects feel powerful. Snake Eye, those 2 additional cards, and the Confusion, you feel that. That definitely makes a huge impact. And that's what I think of when I look at boss relics. So just going alphabetically, Astrolabe, power, because it also upgrades those 3 cards, it is strong enough. It's often... So you often get a common, uncommon, and a rare when you transform. Sometimes you get 3 uncommons. One time I got 2 uncommons and a rare. So the main issue, if you get this early game, basically Astrolabe is you have a consistent deck but no strategy, or you have a strategy but like you... Actually, the fact that you could just throw away strikes and defends for Astrolabe, it makes Astrolabe really strong, because you're trying to get rid of those anyways, and it makes actually good cards. In the early game, the problem is you don't have a good deck yet. You have to get pretty unlucky for 3 upgraded cards of higher rarity to give you nothing. it is possible. There are some classes that, like, you get Diva form or Echo form or Demon form, and you just don't have the energy to play them. That's obviously an issue with the rare cards. A Catalyst Plus without any poison, that's an issue. Like, there are ways where Astrolabe can fail. So it's not the most powerful, but its drawback? I mean, it's getting rid of 3 cards that you don't want. It doesn't really have a drawback. It gives you strategy of just, like, adapting. You have to adapt to what it gives you. It's probably lower on the strategy, but it's also weaker in the power to make up for it. And feel, you can feel when it impacts. You could feel when this card that you got saved you. If something goes wrong, you can feel, yep, if this card was just a strike or something like that, I actually could have solved this issue. You feel Astrolabe. I enjoy that. Unlike the others here, Astrolabe is a very specific card. So every time you see that card, you can feel the Astrolabe. Black Blood. So Black Blood is a strong relic. It's the main theme is to feel like the power and strategy all revolves around you taking a lot of damage so that you can heal up. It's actually interesting because this synergizes the best with Runic Cube, but if you get both, then you don't have any energy relics, and you have to deal with that with Ironclad, who wants energy, who wants that 4th energy. So that's a bit of an issue, but so generally Burning Blood just says, hey, I took a deck with a ton of strikes, a ton of bashes, a ton of cards that just deal damage, and I don't have a way to block. Well, this solves your issue with blocking. And you might say, like, oh no, this doesn't solve the issue. Watch some of my first runs. Getting healing solves the issue. Of course, in those runs, I used Reaper. I didn't get offered Black Blood. If I did, I should have picked it. I think I got offered Black Blood with Runic Cube. I decided this was the stronger of the 2. That's mainly the issue, that Runic Cube is stronger than Black Blood. If this constantly healed you during the... No, you can't. I was going to say, if this constantly healed you, I'd consider it more. Like, if it's just 1 HP per turn or something. But then you could get, like, a blockade, infinite block, and therefore infinite healing strat. They can't do that. It's fine. It's more powerful. The feel is just pushing deeper into the idea of sacrifice health for more power. Oh, you got the notification now? Literally as I'm, like, trying to do this last talk before I close up. Beautiful. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Twitch. I wonder why most of my subscribers aren't using that. Thank you for those statistics, by the way. Alright. But yeah. The heal... So heal 12 HP, it is impactful because it is... You know, already the Burning Blood was great. Double it up. You now can lean into it. Also, if by the time you got here, you could have Magic Flower for more healing or something like that. Like... The power of Burning Blood is that you can adapt to the situation. You could suddenly say, alright, do I attack or defend? It's always attack because, unless I'm dying, the defend doesn't matter much. I think Meat on the Bone is another huge one. It's literally a Meat on the Bone, except you don't have to go below 50% health. Yeah, and Meat on the Bone is really strong. Alright. And feel... Obviously, if you're at full health, you're not going to feel this. But if you're constantly at full health, why are you taking Black Blood? If you are, I guess I think I said that was 54 damage per act. This is now 108 damage per act. Like, that is more than your max health. Black Blood, that's what makes Black Blood good. Alright, Black Star is basically the card that, the relic that says, my deck is absolutely amazing, come at me. Because what this does is... The additional relic, you have to now face elites with a deck that doesn't have a 4th energy. That doesn't have a boss relic. This is a very risk-reward relic. If this was a rare relic or something, like the Matryoshka, then it would play very differently. The fact that you have to choose this over something that will get you stronger now makes it a really interesting relic. This is the strategy comes when you pick it. When you pick it, you just decide, alright, next act, am I going to be facing 2 or 3 elites? Can I do that with the deck as it is? My answer has often been no. Black Star is amazing if the answer is yes. Therefore, Black Star just says, hey, did I get a good... And then, you know, obviously... Well, the feel is kind of weird because the feel comes from these relics, and whether or not these relics are... You feel them. I mean, if you manage to pick this up before Act 2, and you know, by the time you get to the heart, Black Star could get you as many as 6 relics. That you see that across your screen. That is insane. But of course, that's best case scenario. That's when you would pick Black Star, praying for that. It's a good boss relic because you have to make those considerations. Busted Crown, power, obvious, and energy, I'm not even going to go into power because, yes, the 4th energy is huge. So now, for the strategy is kind of the same thing with Black Star, that my deck is amazing, I don't need to fix it. Where this one says my deck doesn't even need the 4th energy, this says my deck just doesn't need other cards. It's already finished. Obviously, you feel the 4th energy. If you accidentally... This is one of those ones... these two are ones that if you trade your starting relic for, this one it's like, alright, I gabble it all, I either win big or I die before the first boss. This one, when you see it as your starting relic, you basically lost. I got it before, and you just have to pick every card because you need your deck stronger, and some of these cards are weak, but you don't have an option, you just have to take them. You basically have to rely on shops. Because if you don't get shops, you're dead. And you're not going to get enough shops. Alright. Calling Bell. Same thing with the Black Star. This, the Calling Bell, the feel comes from the other relics that gets you. I think this one always gets you a common, an uncommon, and a rare relic. And that guaranteed rare relic honestly makes this worth it. Because rare relics, some of them are absolutely insane. Calipers, if you get a deck knowing you're getting Calipers or Dead Branch, you can just change your strategy up entirely and solve a lot of issues. I had an Unceasing Top, which allowed me to play a bunch of 0-attack cards. I just forgot about statuses. I was being an idiot, so I went too deep into this. This, for Ironclad, basically solves its draw problem a lot of times. But yeah. This, and then it has 2 more relics at the cost of 1 curse. And the curse is just an injury. Yes, you can't get rid of it, unless you have Omamori. If you have Omamori before you get this, you can get rid of it. But you have to get the Omamori first, so you don't really know. Strategy-wise, it's just, are you willing to take that gambit? This is like the Black Star, except you don't have to face the leads. You just get it right up front. Calling Bell basically says, I don't need the additional energy, but I need additional power. And that's a strategy worth considering. Coffee Dripper. Took this early one time. Got this as my Ram starting relic. Great. Other times I get an Act 4. This is one of the strongest energy ones, because you have figured out by the time you get here whether or not you need more healing. If you don't need more healing, then you smith at your rest sites and you get stronger. Coffee Dripper doesn't make you any weaker, it just makes it more of a risk. And if you're confident in your risks, if you have your Burning Bloods already, if you manage to get from your relics a bird-faced urn and you can heal from that, if you have a meal ticket so you're healing from that, if you have a toy ornithopter, Coffee Dripper does its job. It does it great. 5 out of 5. I'm not going to give them ratings, but this is just, I want to note that this is one of the best ones. Cursed Key. Basically, do you need to open more chests? Yes or no? If you need to open only 1 more chest, this is probably worth it. If you need to open 2 more chests, you're paying more of a cost than even Calling Bell. You're going to need a Peace Pipe to remove those curses very easily, or that's going to be too expensive. Cursed Key, very much you know whether you want it or not. Feel, yeah. Not going to go too much. I need to stop going too much into energy. We are already past time. Go in lightning round. Go into the ones that are interesting. So quick, just do the energies real fast. Let's get them interesting. Ectoplasm. If you get this in Act 1, or if you get this, you switch out your relic for it. Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, You do not want to switch your relic into this, because you basically have lost 3... You either got 3 curses, or you lost 3 relics, minimum. Ectoplasm, no longer gain gold. You need the gold in the early game. You don't always need it in the late game. You can weave around merchants. I like Ectoplasm in Act 3, when we're jumping into Act 3. Sometimes I'll get in Act 2 if it's just the best energy. It works. You can manage with Ectoplasm. It's not as good as Coffee Dripper, but it's still okay. We're going to do Energy Relics. Fusion Hammer. Just do you need upgrades? Yes or no. Makes you stronger. Makes you weaker if you need upgrades. Alright, energy cards. Hovering Kite. Can you discard consistently? Yes. Free energy. Huge. Can you do something with those wounds? No. Sucks. Yes. Well, you just need to make sure you can do it consistently enough, because if you draw that in the starting hand, that's going to suck. You do not want to draw this as starting hand. Nuclear Battery. How many orbs are you channeling? Not many. Alright, Nuclear Battery. Hands down. I love... This relic is a really good one if you're not, like, evoking 1,000 orbs. As I said, best relic to get randomly into. Pandora's Box... Oh, wait. No, we need to do energy first. Philosopher's Stone. All enemies start combat with 1 strength. A few enemies you're worried about. You now know what they are. Great relic. Not really a... It's only a drawback for those specific enemies. Alright. Runic Dome. Not for new players. You have to know everything about the enemy's attack patterns. It's basically for a deck that says, hey, I'm blocking every turn anyways. I don't really need to know how much they're attacking for. I'm blocking all the way anyways. Good. I like this. Runic Dome actually has some really interesting runs with it. I like this one. Alright. Slaver's Collar. Basically, no drawback, but you have to go for elites. You have to say that your regular fights are perfectly fine. Sometimes they're not. Act 2 really punishes you for not having 4 energy. I pick it up sometimes. Often is my only energy relic, so of course I have to pick it up. Sozu, pick it up often. It's just, potions are always variable, and I just say I get unlucky. Ta-da! Velvet Choker. Are you playing more than 6 cards a turn? Yes, no. No, free energy. Violet Lotus, as I already explained, if you're exiting out, it's possible to exit out of comp multiple times in a turn. This is insane. This ends up being like 5 or 6 energy at times. Insane one. Alright, now we get to the ones that aren't energy that we haven't gone through yet. Alright. Empty Cage. So this one, my argument is that this should be a rare relic. Because power-wise, yes, removing cards is very strong. The thing is, the optimum power is to remove 2 curses, which Omamori, a common relic, does. Right here. Negate the next 2 curses you obtain. And this one can actually negate Necronomicon and the Toll of the Bell, which are usually unremovable. Now, you're actually using this to remove strikes and defense and stuff like that. That is powerful, but you don't feel that. You don't feel consistency. You don't say, oh, I can see that this wasn't a strike. You don't see it. It just kind of happens. You don't feel Empty Cage, and the strategy doesn't really change. The only strategy you can really get with this is to thin your deck into very few cards. Decks that do that are exhausting their cards. They're not having tiny decks. They're just exhausting their cards to get to those decks. I do not like Empty Cage as a boss relic. It's just really... It has no drawbacks, which are what make boss relics interesting. Like, the fact that you could skip your boss relic is really interesting. And the fact that you have some of these that are just like... The risk is making them strong is risky. It's interesting. This is just a weird card. This feels like it's not a boss relic. It's just a rare relic. And I would shove it in here if I could. It doesn't... I hate taking it. If I get it for my random card, I basically feel like I'm dead. I can't remove the strikes yet, so I just removed 1 strike, 1 defend. Oh no! Oh boy, a new consistent deck. I lost my starting relic. I'm getting wrecked. Frozen Core, you know whether you want it or not. It's if you keep evoking your orbs, if you keep having empty orb slots, this just fills them all up. Great, amazing with Inserter. If it wasn't for the fact that you didn't have energy with that. But then again, Defect has ways around not having energy. If you can increase your focus, this will often be all the block you need, and it's a relic that triggers on your first turn as early. So that's awesome. So this is a great one. This one I love. If you're just channeling Law of Orbs, you just get to channel more orbs and have no issue with it. This is often a game-winning relic. It's great. That being said, like you saw in my last run, I did not have many cards that channel relics, so this did nothing. Fedora's box. The main issue is that you lose all your defense. You need some solution to the fact that you can't block anymore. That being said, it almost always makes your deck stronger. In every other way, it makes your deck stronger. I enjoy this. This is the very example of, like, this is Pandora's box. This is chaos. You can't put this earlier. You can't put this as, like, a rare relic, because you... I love where this is. Pandora's box is the perfect example of we want something crazy. We want a boss relic that has a risk that isn't just like an energy, that isn't just like a penalty for an energy. By the way, Pandora's box and Astrolabe is basically a less extreme Pandora's box, and these two right here make me wonder why Empty Birdcage has a place here. Runic Cube solves your issue with card draw. You know whether or not you want it. Runic Pyramid. Very strong. This one, you just need to know, can I deal with cards in my hand? If they start shuffling wounds in my deck, am I dead? If you're not dead, you keep going. This is a great relic. This is very often an amazing relic. It's just, you need to know whether or not you can take it, because if you get too many cards clogging up your hand, you could die very easily. This is an amazing relic, though. This and Snake Eye are probably the two most amazing relics, but they do not synergize well. Snake Eye, by the way, basically you pick every card that costs 2 or 3, and they now cost, on 50% of the time, they cost less. Another 25%, they cost the same, and then the last 25% of the time, they cost 3, but you got 2 additional cards, so you'll just trade one of those instead. Snake Eye puts a lot more luck element into your game, but also, like, 2 additional cards. Like, we talked about how 2 additional cards is really strong in the first turn. Now imagine that every turn. Snake Eye is really... These two are really strong, but never put together. Sacred Bark. Potions are not consistent in the first place. If potions were more consistent, I could see... Like, if Sacred Bark also gave you a potion... Like, if Sacred Bark also gave you a potion slot with an Anthropic Brew in it, I'd be down for Sacred Bark. It is very much, there are going to be some fights I'm scared about. Let's have a solution to those fights. And oh yeah, this is also going to make me stronger, but in a really weird way. If this was a bit stronger, if this had an Anthropic Brew inside of it, there's potion rarity, just a sec. If you had an Anthropic Brew, if you had a Ghost in the Jar, if it just guaranteed that you got a rare potion with it, yeah, if Anthropic Brew also gave you a rare potion, if Sacred Bark gave you a rare potion, I'd be more down for it. It doesn't. Because of that, its power is really waning, it's very inconsistent. It does actually have a lot of effect on strategy, which I think is why it's here, but I think it would do better as a rare relic. In case you remember why I'm saying, like, go rare relic and stuff, White Beast statue used to be a boss relic. People hated it. I don't think they hated it, but they definitely did not feel like a boss relic. That's why I'm talking about these ones being non-boss relics. This one needs to be a lot stronger if we want to keep it a boss relic. There was another one. Orrery, I think. Shop, yeah. Orrery. This used to be a boss relic as well. People like it as a shop theme. It's better. I enjoy that idea. So now we have Tiny House. So Tiny House, power-wise, is too strong to be a rare relic. So, like, obtain 1 potion is a 5th of... Where is it? A Cauldron. So it's a 5th of Cauldron. It is 50 gold. It's a 6th of Old Coin. Raise your max HP by 5. It's half of an uncommon relic. Let's see if I can find it. Pear. It's half of Pear. So, let's see. Half of an uncommon. with the obtain one card is now 2/5 of a shop relic because of Orrery. It is a 1/6 of a rare relic. And then you also obtain one card. Oh yeah, and then you upgrade one ram card, which is basically half of a common relic. Add that all up, that's actually stronger than a rare relic. The problem is, 1, it gives you no strategy, 2, it gives you no feel. You just kind of get better in a few ways. The only way you feel this is if you're alive at 5 health. And then you're probably dead next fight. This is better if you want to do something like that. This doesn't feel like a boss relic. It feels like a good thing to get, but not. This feels like it's a rare relic over here. It feels like it's the best rare relic right now. But it's not a boss relic. That's why I dislike this tiny house. It has no drawback, and I think there should be some boss relics that have no drawback. But I think like Black Blood and the Runic Cube, if Runic Serpent didn't have that issue of not drawing you that additional card on the first turn, this and Hovering Kite, those are without drawback. Inserter, Cracked Frozen Core, Holy Water, like these ones are their no drawback effects. Like there are enough of them. I don't think Tiny House is necessary. I don't think it's good. Finally, Wristblade. Again, power isn't there. Strategy is pretty cool. Power isn't there. Feel, unless that 4 damage is what decides the game. Well, actually, you will feel this, but when you feel it, you're like, well, the enemy's here. Time Eater sure is going to kick my rear. Doesn't really help me there. So yeah, in place of Tiny House, I think there's actually a shop relic that can be a boss relic. And this is kind of controversial. Membership card. Now, suddenly your strategy goes around going to the shops. It's so weird that membership card is a shop relic. Because basically, if you can afford it, you always buy it. Meanwhile, if this was a boss relic, and maybe as you pick it up, either it gives you more gold, or it's... Like, one of the things I had an idea is your next room. Because always after the boss, the next act always starts with a fight. If this made that next room, instead of starting with a fight, started with a shop, it'd be really interesting. If you get it for replacing your starting relic, that basically means you start at a shop and everything's cheap. You might actually be able to afford a relic. Like, or you could just buy up the cards to make your deck stronger. Like, I think membership card could, like, if it just... So that would just be the last thing. It would have to make sure that when you... The next act, the very first thing is a shop instead of an enemy. Add that, and membership card could be a boss relic to replace Tiny House. And if Tiny House didn't give you gold, it would... If Tiny House didn't give you gold, it could make sense as a shop relic. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on boss relics. I enjoy the system. I really do. There's a few errors. If they ever have an update again that's going to do some overhauls with relics, I'd love to see that. But yeah, that's how I feel with the boss relics. So generally, what do you do with... Let's just answer the question as just a quick answer. Do you replace your starting relic with a boss relic? With Defect? Probably. Otherwise, you just say, is this act threatening enough that I need to risk it? Because some of these are great. Some of these will just destroy your deck. So it's like, you basically decide whether you win or lose right here. You just... If you get a Cursed Busted Crown, your new goal is to get to the first boss. Not to beat it, you're not beating it. The goal is to get to the first boss. Otherwise, yeah, like an early Snake Eye wins you the run. Then again, it can have some interesting runs because of stuff like that. But the reason that boss relics are allowed to be here is because you could choose if you take them. The fact that you could choose if you take them makes boss relics very different from every other relic. And losing that choice could be deadly. If you get right, you're great. If you don't get right, sorry. It was nice knowing you. And I'd rather have more consistency. Anyways, that was a long talk. That got me through the time left, so I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all Have a wonderful day.